Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters, your Magic the Gathering source that helps you command your budget. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all their support. Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Quarters studio. Welcome to the show. So, Wizards has finally done it. They did it. They have made Magic history. We've got our first legendary crab. Yeah. I'm sure some people are going to be excited about that, and others going to be very, very, very confused as to why there's a legendary crab in Magic, but the design's pretty unique. Let's jump into it. So, Charix the Raging Isle is a 0/17. You heard me right. 17 Leviathan crab that costs 2 blue. Says spells your opponents cast that target Charix the Raging Isle cost 2 more to cast and pay 3. Charix gets plus X minus X until end of turn, where X is the number of islands you control. Really quick, again, this is a quick take, so if I misspeak, my apologies. It's probably going to happen. Anyway, so 0/17, I believe, and I could be wrong, so please check me in the comments, but I believe that's the highest toughness that currently exists in legal Commander cards. I mean, obviously, there are certain cards that are not legal in Commander that might have higher toughness than that, but I believe that this is the now biggest. I think the previous largest was 16/16. This is a 0/17, so no power, but 17 toughness is a ton. One fun thing that has been noted is that this survives Blasphemous Act. So yeah, good luck red decks ever dealing with this when it has that amount of toughness. But yeah, so the thing about that toughness is that you can kind of transition that into being power. So, depending on the number of islands that you control and how many times you activate that ability, you're going to be giving Charix plus X minus X. Now, obviously, you can't get Charix to a point where you accidentally, or you could, but you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't activate it enough times to actually take Charix out, because if you go under, 1 toughness, Charix is just dead, and that's not good. So, if you've got, let's say, 8 islands in play, you activate this once, it's going to be an 8/9, the math checks out. You activate it a second time, it's going to be a 16/1. So obviously it's more vulnerable, but it does have that kind of built-in protection where your opponents really can't cast spells without paying extra to target it. And, you can smack some players with this. So it's going to be a fantastic blocker, obviously, but you're probably going to be more so wanting to be on the offensive side with this, smacking your opponents for, upwards of, 16 damage or whatnot. So it seems like a really kind of unique commander, definitely a Voltron-style commander, possibly a card that could be used in certain 99s. We'll talk about that later. But if you're going to be building around this as your commander, some cards that I would start off considering would be ones that have to deal with either getting more islands into play or, other ones that care about the number of islands in play, because obviously you're going to be trying to control that number. Dreamscape Artist, actually, when I talk about, certain other colors other than mono white, have, access to ramp cards. Typically, when it comes to blue, it has to deal with untapping artifacts, but they actually have a card like Dreamscape Artist, which you can pay 2 to blue and tap it to discard a card, sacrifice land, and search your library for the 2 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Basically, a hero on a creature. So you can keep, ramping with this. Yes, you're discarding cards, but you are getting your island count up quicker and quicker, so that helps kind of fuel Charix. It also fuels cards like Engulf the Shore, which is an instant that says, return to the owner's hands all creatures with a toughness less than or equal to the number of islands you control. So yeah, once you get to a certain point, you can essentially just have this be a one-sided board wipe at instant speed, bouncing all of your opponent's creatures back to their hands. And yeah, obviously Charix is going to be able to stick around because, yeah, it's got 17 toughness, and you're probably never getting to 17 islands, so. Scourge of Fleets is another one. Enters the battlefield. Return each creature your opponent's control with toughness X or less to owner's hands or X number of islands you control. Basically the same thing, but an automatic kind of one-sided approach to this. So, again, that's a good way to get Charix through. Obviously, you'd probably need a good amount of mana to cast both Scourge of the Fleets and to also activate Charix, but we'll talk about some ways to help out with that too. Next up, you definitely want some ways to get Charix through, because it doesn't really have, it doesn't have any kind of evasion. It doesn't have trample, obviously. So, trying to smack someone with a 16/1 is great, but if they block with anything, Charix is dead. So Tetsuko Umezawa Fugitive is a good option for this deck. It says creatures you control with power toughness 1 or less can't be blocked. Basically, when you're attacking with Charix, you just attack with it being a 0/17. Once it gets through, before combat damage is assigned, you then, activate its ability, once, twice, whatever you want to do. and, smack your opponent for a ton. Key to the City is another good one that can just get it into, or unblockability. Make it unblockable no matter what. Tap and discard a card up to one target creature can't be blocked this turn, and whenever it becomes untapped, you may pay 2 if you do draw a card. So this helps you essentially kind of either loot, and also make Charix unblockable. Hot Soup is a really funny one, and this one is equipped creature can't be blocked. Whenever equipped creature is dealt damage, destroy it. Equip 3. It's a very flavorful card. Very effective card. This does, however, kind of ironically, make Charix die to any amount of damage, including Blasphemous Act, even though it would normally survive that, so just keep that in mind. You're also going to want some ways to deal even more damage with Charix, so basically taking, the advantage of that massive power that Charix can get to, and maybe even doubling it up with something like a Fire Shrieker. It gives double strike, so yeah, if you've got Charix at 11 power or greater, that's going to be a one-shot kill on any of your opponents because of commander damage. Inquisitor's Flail is somewhat similar, but different. Says if equipped creature would deal combat damage, deals double the damage instead. If another creature would deal combat damage to equipped creature, it deals double that damage to equipped creature instead. That second part kind of really actually doesn't even matter because it's going to take a really big creature to try to take out Charix on its own regardless. But again, you've got plenty of ways to get Charix through. And yeah, if you're going to be dealing a ton of damage with Inquisitor's Flail, again, it can even double up your double strike. So basically, you just need to get Charix up to 6 power and then double strike and then Inquisitor's Flail, and that's 24 combat damage. Math is fun. Blackblade Forge can come in handy as well. Cards that basically kind of pump Charix based on the number of lands you control, because again, you're going to be working on kind of increasing that amount to a certain degree. So Blackblade Forge is an equipment that says equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each land you control, and it only costs 3 to equip to Charix because it's legendary. So yeah, basically kind of getting that to an even higher point. And actually, we're going to talk about in some future cards kind of about how, getting that power up just a little bit can actually come in handy in certain ways. Next up, let's talk about Hearthstone, though. Hearthstone basically makes all creatures' abilities cost 1 less to activate. So instead of Charix costing 3 to activate, it only costs 2. And basically, again, a lot of the times probably early on in the game, you're going to be activating that multiple times, or at least trying to activate that multiple times to get Charix up to a good amount of power to hit. So having it cost 2 instead of 3 can be huge. Again, keep in mind that this does help your opponents out. So if your opponent's running a Kenrith deck, you might want to think twice before actually putting that out there. But yeah, it doesn't always help your opponents, and it can really come in handy in a deck like this. Now, again, when I talked about kind of increasing power might be a good thing with certain equipment, yeah, and this is a Voltron build, so you're probably going to be running a decent amount of equipment in the deck that actually pump Charix a little bit, maybe a +3/+3 or something like that. But yeah, Blackblade Forge is going to be like +8/+8 at a certain point once you get more lands into play. Something like a Merfolk Thaumaturgist can be really big for this deck. Basically, tap and switch target creature's power toughness on of turn. So you swing, you get Charix through. You've got, something like a Blackblade Forged on it, or basically even anything that just gives like +4/+4. You switch that power and toughness, and then Charix is dealing 21 damage. Again, if you do this without having that additional power on Charix to start, Charix is just dead because it turns into, a 17-0, and that's not good. So yeah, if you've got even just a little power on Charix, you don't have to actually pay to kind of do that plus-minus thing. You basically just need to tap your Merfolk, Thaumaturgist, or however you say that, and then yeah, your Charix just becomes massive and swings for a lot, and yeah, fun times are had by all. Twisted Image, another card that does that, also draws a card in cantrip, so that can come in handy. But I mean, I think the main question is kind of how viable is Charix as a commander. I mean, a Voltron commander in mono blue isn't unheard of. I think my very first deck tech was actually on Nezahal as a Voltron commander in mono blue, and that one's a lot of fun. But basically, I think that Charix is going to see play, but more so in the 99. I think that, every single Phoenix player out there, when they saw Charix, was probably like, oh, yes, immediately auto-adding to my deck. Because, yeah, Phoenix basically is, you creatures you control have tap, target player puts the top X card to their library into their graveyard, X is creature's toughness. So just tapping your Charix and making someone mill for a cool 17 might make mill more viable in Commander. So, yeah, definitely an interesting commander, though. The very first, again, legendary crab, a Leviathan crab, and again, the highest toughness that we've seen on any legal card in Commanders so far. So, yeah, Charix seems like a pretty unique commander and also a good card for some 99s as well. So I'd love to hear from you, though. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts on Charix are. So yeah, let me know in the comments below. And as always, thanks again and have a good one.